Good evening from the Qtv newsroom. I am Maria Masani and thanks for joining us. First, the main local, international and sports news headlines. Registrars of the Gambia Judiciary from all regions today started a 3-day capacity building training on data collection and management. A UDP supporter, Mudungom, on Monday told the TRRC that he was electrocuted and tortured by the NIA after his arrest in 2006. The Brikama Area Council, in collaboration with the Tangier Fish Landing Site Committee on Monday, embarked on a massive beach cleansing exercise along the Tangier Fish Landing Site. 3D GAM and 3D Global on Monday presented certificates and valuables to 6 schools that took part in a human rights competition project across the country. In international news, figures from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show that new weekly cases of coronavirus in the month of to 13th December have gone up by an average of 6.1 each week. The head of EU's crime-fighting agency, Europol, has said that cases of online child sex abuse are up this year owing to the coronavirus pandemic. In sports news, the Gambia Football Federation on Saturday held its annual general meeting where the Federation executive met with the football stakeholders across the country. Now the local news in detail. Stay with us. Registrars of the Gambia Judiciary from all regions are today undergoing a 3-day capacity building training on data collection and management. The training aims to provide them with the skills and knowledge required to manage child protection data. Lamin Choi tells us more.
These are staff of the Gambia Judiciary representing courts, caddies and magistrates from all over the country. They are here on this training to build on their skills and knowledge on how to manage data in line with best practices in the cause of administration of justice for children.
This training of registrars and assistant registrars is indeed very important, as record preparation is very key to the function of the judiciary and in the administration of justice. The training on children in the judicial system would prepare the panelists at the Children's Court on communicating and interviewing child victims and child witnesses.
For proper dispensation of justice, juvenile cases are given special treatment, and along the way, the function of these staff of the judiciary will involve protection of privacy of children in order to shield them from social and professional stigma.
This is an important training in the sense that it would increase our knowledge in records preparation, data collection and management. This is the first of its kind in the judiciary of the Gambia. However, I urge all the participants to take this training seriously, because I believe that the knowledge gained here will be further disseminated to our colleagues back at the judiciary.
The Gambia child justice system comprises 4 children's courts with the jurisdiction over crimes committed by children, and each of the courts is presided by a magistrate who is also assisted by a specialized panel. Despite such an established structure, there still remains gaps to be filled due to inadequate capacity or resources, plus addressing a comprehensive policy framework.
This training, it will take us to a long way, because we see it's very important now today when you collect data and to know how to manage that data and how also to record it is very important in any department, especially as assistant registrar or registrar. When you deal with these records, then you have to know how to manage these records, especially in my area where I deal with divorces, marriages, and inheritance.
Records are almost, I can say, they are the backbone of our works, because it is through the records that we will know if we have made progress, and it is through the records that we will know where we want to head to and what we want to achieve. So to me, generally, it is very important, at least we know how to collect records, and to manage our records also as well.
In its drive to ensure the protection of rights of children in the Gambia's judiciary, UNICEF facilitated this training with technical and financial support. UNICEF staff are present at this forum to give the registrars necessary skills and knowledge on international best standards on juvenile justice. While protection of children is said to be the basis for the fulfillment of their rights, experts have argued that this is dependent on a country's adequate human capacity, material resources and effective enforcement of laws and policies on children's welfare. Mahmoud Lamin Choi, Qtv News.
A UDP supporter, Modungam, on Monday told the TRRC that he was electrocuted and tortured by the NIA after his arrest in 2006. The NIA accused of gross human rights violations under ex-President Jammeh's regime. Babu Kursi reports.
Modungom told the commission that he is a native of Tujereng and a strong supporter of the UDP. Ngom said he was among the UDP supporters who were arrested with Solo Sandeng and others in April 2016 at Westfield and taken to the NIA.
So, yenne fingerprint awole Solo kumbo kamoy.
They took our fingerprints and then we had Solo crying.
How do you know it was Solo crying?
Yalo nyadi le ko Solo lebe kumboka.
Nga kamo sutiele andu ngalo mbakele msuti atalale.
I recognize his voice and I know him very well because I'm very close to him.
The witness added that he was taken to a special room where his statement was taken, after which he was tortured.
They beat me until they were tired and they sat down and rested.
608.
I think 608. It's here.
Yes. And that was caused by what?
It's the beatings that was the cause.
So, did you sustain any other injury?
Aha, because yensi was so kurang.
Yes, because my souls were electrocuted.
And
my genitals were also shocked with electric. Ngom, who lost one of his eyes due to the NIA torture, told the commission that the NIA told him that he will never function as a man before electrocuting him.
Because I was thirsty and unable to drink.
So
blood was oozing from this part of my hand, so I used to suck it and drink it back.
Did you tell them you needed water?
I told them, but they said that I will not drink there.
During NIA torture sessions, on 3 occasions, the witness said he was told by the NIA to mention the names like O.J. Jallow and Usainu Dabo as people who ordered them to demonstrate. Ngom accused the NIA of poisoning some arrested UDP members by injecting them with an unknown substance. He further stated that an NIA officer had warned him that he and his colleagues should not eat food served to them by the NIA. After detained for 14 days at Bambadinka, they were moved to the maximum security wing of the Mile 2 Central Prison. Ngom was charged, arraigned at the High Court and sentenced with other UDP supporters. He finally gained his freedom after the 2016 election following the change of government. Babu Kursi, Qtv News.
3D GAM and 3D Global on Monday presented certificates and valuables to 6 schools that took part in a human rights competition project across the country. The event also witnessed the signing of an MOU between 3D GAM and the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Lolly M. Kamara attended, reports.
The partnership seeks to enable more collaborative engagement and recognition between 3D GAM, which stands for Decisions Determine Destiny, Gambia, and the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and to help the ministry in the articulation and implementation of youth empowerment and sports policies and programs. According to 3D GAM, they are concerned about the existence of duplications and contradictions in the strategies and focus of various youth empowerment and sports programs being implemented by NGOs and some private operators. Thus, the need for the effective coordination of the overall internal security and safeguarding efforts in the country. At the event, the Homeland General Lamin S. Jawara said the day is important in the history of the organization as their activities are geared towards helping humanity.
3D GAM, part of 3D and 3D Global, have agreed to establish a cooperative arrangement for the mutual benefit of our country in the areas of human rights and drug awareness. As we may all know, the Ministry of Youth and Sports have the core of this country. A mentor once defined a youth in my presence, said, a youth is like a bull. No part of it is useless. It depends on how you harness it. So this is what we at 3D GAM have in our mind and want to capitalize on that definition to make the best use of the presence of the youth in this country through the Ministry of Youth and Sports.
The permanent secretary at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, Lamin A. Kamara, states his ministry's readiness to be associated with 3D GAM, adding that the Ministry of Youth and Sports attaches great importance to youth affairs. He further says that the partnership is in line with the National Development Plan. Demba Ali Jawo, the guest speaker at the event, commends 3D GAM for their commitment towards empowering youths and congratulates the winning schools, encouraging more schools to take part in such competitions.
I also wish to take this opportunity to congratulate the various schools receiving awards today for their participation in the human rights project, as well as those institutions being presented with human rights and drug awareness sets. Finally, I wish to encourage 3D GAM to continue the wonderful work that they are doing in this country and abroad, and to thank each and every one of you for attending this auspicious occasion.
Vicente Gomez, the public relations officer for 3D GAM, delivered the vote of thanks and used the occasion to thank the Ministry of Youth and Sports and 3D GAM representatives for making the event a success. After the signing of the MOU, certificates, cash, and other valuables, including CDs and booklets on human rights and drugs, were awarded to the winning schools and relevant satellite institutions under the Ministry of Youth and Sports. 3D GAM and 3D GAM Global say they are a foundation of like-minded individuals who want to radiate goodness in mankind with a plain progressive agenda with no ifs and no buts, and they are apolitical, non-religious, non-ethnic or section-based. For QTV News, Lolly M. Camara.
We will take a short break, and still to come we have local, international and sports news. Welcome back. The Brikama Area Council, in collaboration with the Tangi Fish Landing Site Committee, on Monday embarked on a massive beach cleansing exercise along the Tangi Fish Landing Site. Omar Pijaro has that story.
The aim of the clean-up exercise is to increase public awareness and remove rubbish from the coastline, and for a positive change in people's attitude towards the environmental pollution, especially on our beaches. Officials believe that the careless disposal of these materials on our beaches comes from the commercial fish operators, beachgoers, and even villagers who smuggle their rubbish and dispose it on the beaches during the night, thereby having their consequences on our marine ecosystem. Modu Jonga, the CEO of Brikama Area Council, said preventing the littering of trash on the coastline is key to our living and the protection of our marine resources. He adds that this exercise will contribute to protecting people's health and the environment, particularly our wetland ecosystems, which support high biodiversity that many depend on for their livelihood. The chairman of Tangi Fish Landing Site Committee, Alma Mojame, said trash in water impacts the world on many levels, including harming wildlife, humans, and impacting the livelihood of those who work in the ozone. We all have a role to play in cleaning the country's beaches. There is a lot of business activity that goes on along the country's beaches. The turnout for this exercise is not encouraging, and if the beach pollution in the country continues, it can drive away the tourists who come here to enjoy the clean sandy beaches and sunlight, to look for cleaner destinations elsewhere. Kadijaju, a fish smoker, expresses her disappointment regarding the present condition of the Tangi beaches, saying it is very filthy and dirty, littered with plastics, empty tin cans, discarded old fish nets, and filth of all sorts, adding that this can be very dangerous for the people and marine life that comes in contact with this rubbish thrown on the beaches and are consumed as fish catches landed on the beach, and the people come to buy these fish for home consumption.
I am pleading to my fellow women to come and take part in this very important exercise. It is not healthy to inhale the foul smell that pollutes the beach area because of the pollution that emanates from the fish landing site.
Illegal waste dumping is increasingly becoming a national concern, and therefore measures should be taken to restore the fading glory of the country's beauty sandy beaches as a shiny and smiling coast destination that has attracted millions of tourists over the years. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
We will take another commercial break, and the news continues with international and sports news when we return. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV News. In international news, there have been concerns that the African continent is facing another spike in COVID-19 infections. Figures from the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention show that new weekly cases in the month up to 13th December have gone up by an average of 6.1% each week. Here is this report.
Health authorities in 47 African countries have registered an average of 73,000 new COVID-19 infections per week since the end of November, compared to an average of 30,000 new weekly cases in October, according to the World Health Organization. In South Africa, which was already the worst affected country in Africa, accounts for more than 60% of daily new cases detected in sub-Saharan Africa, and deaths have increased by 19% in the 4 weeks up to 6th of December, leading the government to introduce new restrictions. A new variant of coronavirus in the country, according to experts, may be driving the increase, and most of the new infections have been amongst those aged between 15 and 19 years, according to the country's health ministry. Elsewhere, in Morocco, Nigeria, Egypt, DR Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, and Kenya, the numbers have also been going up in recent weeks. Africa Center for Disease Control's John Nkengasong says that clearly the second wave is here, raising alarm among many healthcare workers in Africa. Nigerian healthcare advisor said, "I am concerned about that. People are going about their business as usual, going to weddings, events, church and mosque. They shake hands and don't wear masks, and there is no social distancing." And this could be said of many African countries. Economists have also weighed in, dreading the prospects of another lockdown in countries already economically devastated by the pandemic. The newly developed vaccines already rolled out in Europe are still months away. The head of the Africa Centers for Disease Control said at a recent press conference that mass vaccination will not begin in Africa until mid-2021. Nigeria's health minister has said the country expects to receive its first COVID-19 vaccine shipment of 20 million vaccine doses in January. And Kenya has also said that it had ordered 24 million vaccine doses through the COVAX initiative, which aims to ensure that all countries worldwide have equal access to coronavirus vaccines. The continent has recorded more than 2.5 million cases since the pandemic began, with nearly 60,000 deaths. Compared to other countries, however, the reported death rate per capita on the continent has been low, despite the weak health infrastructure in many African countries. The relatively young population, more than 60% is under the age of 25, has been claimed as one of the reasons for the low numbers. However, the report from South Africa that the new strain has mostly been infecting those aged between 15 and 19 years should be of much concern to the continent. 2 days ago, Senegal's health minister, Abdoulaye Diouf Sarr, said the second wave being experienced in this country is more virulent than the first. The Gambia so far has not had a spike in the numbers, but the head of the ACDC has warned, "As we speak now, we have seen the numbers increase steadily to a point that my speculation is that by January or February, we will be where we were at the peak of this pandemic in July." For QTV News, I am Mudumboch.
Cases of online child sex abuse are up this year owing to the coronavirus pandemic. The head of the EU's crime-fighting agency, Europol, said on Monday Catherine de Boll called the development an ongoing danger. More in this report.
Cybercrime has spiked during the pandemic, with many people forced to work and shop online. The head of the EU law enforcement agency Europol has warned that more cases of online child sex abuse could emerge when schools reopen as teachers' monitoring resumes. De Bolle, former head of the Belgian police, said the rise in pedophile activities was reported by national law enforcement authorities from the 27 EU states, who saw higher access to illegal websites and shut down more online platforms for the exchange of child sex material. De Bolle said perpetrators often try to contact children directly who were on the internet longer than usual at home during the lockdown and were often not supervised. Europol, which is headquarters in The Hague, the Netherlands, helps the 27 EU member states in their fight against terrorism, cybercrime, and other serious and organized forms of crime. Earlier this month, investigators in Germany carried out a series of raids against people suspected of possessing and sharing child abuse footage and images. Prosecutors targeted 56 suspects, and authorities seized over 330 data storage devices. In October, German Chancellor Angela Merkel's cabinet agreed a jail term for sexual violence against children, which would raise the maximum prison term to 15 years. Children in Africa are increasingly using the internet and ICT tools at home, schools, and public spaces, but receive poor guidance to ensure their safety online. The understanding of parents, some teachers, and cyber cafe operators regarding the risks and harms that can be caused, particularly in relation to sexual exploitation, is rather basic and insufficient to effectively protect children.
And now some sports news. The Gambia Football Federation on Saturday held its annual general meeting, where the Federation executive met with the football stakeholders across the country to discuss financial report and review other activities in the year. Babu Garcia reports.
The GFF annual general meeting is a constitutional requirement for the executive of football to engage stakeholders annually to review the year. The Kababajo-led executive described the year as unprecedented due to the global COVID-19 pandemic that halted national leagues here and around the world. However, the executive can boast of positive campaign in the international competitions, with the senior national team a step closer to qualifying for the first time to the Africa Cup of Nations. Addressing the gathering at the football hotel in Yundum, the GFF president Lamin Kababajo highlighted some of the positives his executive accomplished in the year under review despite the COVID-19.
We have renewed our partnership with the Royal Football Federation of Morocco after the initial 2 years elapsed. The 2 years partnership agreement between the two federations is effective from March 12, 2020, with the objective of promoting cooperation between the two federations. This, amongst other items in the agreement, is in order to develop exchanges and build bilateral relationships for greater synergy that will contribute to the development of football. The Gambia Football Federation, under the year under review, signed a cooperation agreement with the Spanish Football Federation on 11 March 2020 in Madrid. This was made possible at the invitation of the Spanish FA president to the president of the Gambia Football Federation. In a similar vein, the Gambia Football Federation president, during a visit to Jeddah, South Africa earlier this year, signed a memorandum of agreement or understanding with the Saudi Football Federation. Both agreements are aimed at formalizing the bilateral relationship between the Gambia Football Federation and the two federations concerned.
On the much talked about COVID-19 support from FIFA, which the federation disbursed to stakeholders across the country, Kababajo said his executive will continue to monitor the situation.
The total amount of $8,250,000 has been disbursed to clubs and regional football associations through their respective bank accounts. The Gambia Football Federation, through its appropriate committees, continue to study the situation in order to provide further support to the football family upon receipt of the promised COVID-19 relief fund from FIFA. GFF continues to pursue the construction of new football stadia and rehabilitation of existing ones. Currently, 3 stadia are under construction, namely of Gunjur, Busumbara, and the National Technical Training Center. As part of the GFF's quest to play night matches, the lighting project in Banjul, Serekunda West, East, and Brikama are in progress and near completion.
On the financial report of the year, The GFF Finance Director, Kemo Cisse, described the year as a successful one for the Federation in terms of income, with FIFA and the Gambia government supporting the Federation in running of the national teams and other expenditures.
FIFA subvention mainly is our main area of our income. That represents 68% of our total income. That's 95.4 compared to 48.4 in 2018. So that's why I say 2019 was really very encouraging. Other operating incomes, 20.2 million versus 5.7 in 2018. That represents 14%. That's the second highest source of income. 2019, really, the Gambia Football Federation, the whole football family, should give a round of applause to the government for their immense support to the national team operations. You look at 2018, the total received for national team support from the government was only 2 million versus 14.6 million in 2019. But remember, we've also played more matches in 2019 than 2018. The senior national team was seriously engaged in 2019, looking at the AFCON qualifiers, World Cup, and the likes. So government, from 100% budget sent to them, at least will receive 30%. So better than previous years.
The delegation also approved the proposed budget for 2021, which show a proposed increment in the league prices for both male and female leagues and other infrastructural developments. The GFF said the under-20s recent success in the just concluded WAFU Zone A tournament in Senegal capped off a successful year for Gambian football, while wishing the under-17 team good luck in their rescheduled tournament. Babukar C, QTV News.
Before we end this bulletin, let's have a quick reminder of our main stories. Registrars of the Gambia Judiciary from all regions are today undergoing a 3-day capacity building training on data collection and management. A UDP supporter, Modunkam, on Monday told the TRRC that he was electrocuted and tortured by the NIA after his arrest in 2006. The Brickhammer Area Council, in collaboration with the Tangi Fish Landing Site Committee, on Monday embarked on a massive beach cleansing exercise along the Tangi Fish Landing Site. 3D GAM and 3D Global on Monday presented certificates and valuables to 6 schools that took part in a human rights competition project across the country. In international news, figures from the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show that new weekly cases of coronavirus in the month up to 13th December have gone up by an average of 6.1% each week. The head of the EU's crime-fighting agency, Europol, has said that cases of online child sex abuse are up this year owing to the coronavirus pandemic. In sports news, the Gambia Football Federation on Saturday held its annual general meeting where the Federation executive met with the football stakeholders across the country. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Do join us at 10 p.m. for another bulletin. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.